Okay, so the last topic I'm going to cover, if I finish early, that's fine, but we're getting close. How to display data badly. This is more of a joking one, kind of showing some ideas of how to make obfuscate visualizations on purpose. The previous one was more, notice it was data-centric, how I create it, how I take the data, how I decide to aggregate, average, sum. Do I really need to aggregate? Am I considering missing values or different data set sizes? So I compare one data set that has 1 million records with one data set that had 10. Are those two comparable? But this one is on purpose, making it bad. So here is death rate plotted against mortality for US veterans. Things to note here is that smokers consistently have a higher death rate than non-smokers, the dashed line. So if you want to obfuscate this and not make it that easily viewable, one thing you can do is actually make it worse right now. You can try using a log scale. Many times, if you see something like this, a log scale will straighten it, or an exponential scale if it kind of grows, doesn't grow. If it's the opposite, it grows fast and then it kind of slacks. So a log scale actually makes it clearer that smokers have a higher rate than non-smokers. One way to obfuscate it is do bar charts that don't start at the same point. So it's going to be harder to compare this one with this one, and this one with this one. This appears there's a big difference there. So, but the last ones are kind of harder to compare. Why? Because they don't start at the same point. The white ones start here, and these ones start somewhere else. If you want to obfuscate it some more, just make confusing labels. They are in Greek. Letters, at least. I'm not sure if it's Greek language, but the letters are from the Greek font. Still says non-smokers. And finally, this one, they managed to fix it. And at least it shows here that non-smokers actually die more than the smokers. How did they do that? So for non-smokers, they started 2. For smokers, they started 3. Using the axis in a wrong way. Like it's fine to have two different axes if the data is kind of truly not on the same axis. But in this case, they are on the same axis, the same rate. Like if I look at the price of stock versus volume that's been sold. In that example, the volume is, how many millions of shares have exchanged hands, and then the price of the stock is going to be something like $20, $25.3. So the axes of those two are completely different. So it's fine to use it like that. And you saw that there was a little bit in the mirages when we looked at life expectancy versus power consumption. They were using 2 different axes. And one of them didn't start. It was kind of made to start to be confusing. To have the same slope, really. And the final thing here on how to exaggerate with graphs. This has to deal, it takes me back to what do we actually see if we don't have a bar chart. But even if we do, human vision we tend to estimate area. So we know it's a big bear if it covers a lot of our visual system. We don't really figure out if it's a tall bear or Actually, a tall bear, very skinny, might not look that big to us than one that's kind of square, fat and short. It might look bigger than a tall and big. So here's what I mean by area here. So basically, here they're trying to make a point. And what this, let's assume this is the purchasing power of dollar in some year, 1970. And this may be 80, 90, what's after 90? 2000, 00, and then 2010. It's not, I think data is a little bit older than that, but it makes the point. So the problem is that, let's say the dollar is half as powerful in 2010. So this one is 0.5 of the original $1 that I started with. But the problem is they reduced, notice that it's not the same width and not the same length. So they reduce it on both. So if they reduce it to half on both, then this is $1, this is $2, this is $3, and this is $4. So visually, our visual system will detect that as being about 4 times as small. Okay, just because, like I said, we tend to focus on area. Bar charts, they tend to all have the same width. So then we focus on length. Why? Because width is fixed. It's not going to affect anything. But in this case, they keep changing. And before we go, so that's kind of one thing to remember. Same thing with volume. We still see area, even if it's volume. So over there, it might not, if most of the cube is looking at us, it's going to be really hard for us to guesstimate this part. Well, we still look at the area that we can see, but if it's really flat or kind of going really this way, it's going to be hard to guesstimate how far back it goes. It depends on the angle related. So, and before I go, there is one, I need to load this in Blackboard. Oh, I can do it through here. I need to add one more file. Last lecture 1 file. I was telling you that I have a visualization that I want to revisit because it was using area improperly, and that's Nurse Nightingale's visualization. And it's loading. I'm sorry. I need some elevator music. And the thing is, with a circle. Okay, I got it. Almost there. 20 more slides to scroll through. Okay, it's loading. Completely on the wrong thing. Okay. I guess the best one to look at maybe is this. If you look at the radius, well, no, maybe this one here. If you look at the radius, the length between here and here, and this is not pre-attentive, by the way. You have to kind of focus on that and kind of guesstimate it. And the distance between here and here, it's about the same. So really, the death rate is twice as big on this particular slice. But just because the way our pre-attentive processing works on the visual, if you compare this slice with this slice, you're not going to see double. You're going to see a little bit more than double, almost quadruple. Again, because it's the area of the square is proportional to pi r squared. So it's just like the rectangle, just like the square. If I grow both one of them, in this case, with the circle, you just grow the area. You don't have any other thing to grow. But that will the surface, it's almost fourfold on that. So it is a little bit, especially, we get a lot of surface in here. It's a little bit, it's for a good cause, but it's not very, in terms of precise data visualization, no, it's exaggerating a little bit just to get them to change the